actual stipulation is like, is there a reason for this instead of Finland?
I honestly,
Finland's already kicked Russia's ass once before.
but that has nothing to do with it. It's entirely just about the fact that Finland went on record and said, like, no, we're not joining NATO. That's it. That's the reassurance they want on paper, because then it's not a potential battleground state. Finland wants to act as if you will, kind of like an Ireland. It wants to money launder to everybody. Not quite a Switzerland, but more like an Ireland. It wants to be everybody's money laundering point. And so it has to stay friendly to everybody.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Well, I think with that out of the way, we are live. So
yeah. I see what I did. I wanted to end it with that. So there we go, guys. That was our 2-hour episode on Ukraine, and now we're in the post game.
Okay.
No summaries.
I'm John.
Just Dan.
Yeah. I'm Dan. I'm dying, so I'm gonna be quiet now. And I have Michael, Jordan, Peterson, Jenk, and John with me live. True's not here. True is he is currently conducting the counterinsurgency to Russian aggression. The Ukrainian specialist underground.
In Georgia.
How many more buzzwords can you get in there?
Hold on, I'm trying to get the acronym. It's Ukrainian Specialist Underground Command. And
does it spell out manatee? If it doesn't spell out manatee, I'm not in.
Command and Conquer Division, or USA.
True is deploying to Georgia this weekend. We won't tell you which Georgia. It's a Georgia.
Yeah.
So you can go ahead and figure that out. You can figure that one out.
Is it the one with the kind of racist baseball team, or is it the one where Stalin was from? We don't know. Frankly, we don't want to know.
You know what?
It was one and then the other.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised if there was a kind of racist baseball team in that place too.
I was waiting. I was waiting for the clue that would for the state.
Yeah, I can't tell.
What kind of S does? Is it a capital or a lowercase s that the state begins with? Well, we don't know. We don't know, and I don't even remember the distinction. I'm literally dyslexic.
Yeah,
so
that's true. He is. He lies awake at night wondering if there is a dog. So that's my dyslexia joke. That's it. It's cute.
Wondering if there is a dog.
Yeah, I'm dyslexic. I'm a dyslexic insomniac who's agnostic. So I lie awake at night wondering if there really is a dog.
Ring, 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 ring. Hello.
Wow.
What?
Spoonie's very mad at us because we're but
what?
It's because Dan and I are self-hating disabled people.
Yeah.
Even though in my disability, I would never actually. I think that if I went around saying I was disabled, people would rightfully be able to get very mad at me.
Isn't everyone disabled, Spoonie?
Yeah, but some are better than others, according to Spoonie.
In the Spoonie extended universe,
the SEU. You know what? I don't want to see those movies. I'm sorry. I'm good.
Whoa! Talk about a dumpster fire.
Yeah. Fuck that shit. So what I don't know. What are we talking about tonight?
Well, I wanted to go from a very heavy topic to a much lighter topic, abortion, and and the reason I wanted to talk
lighter.
Yeah.
How much?
These are good transitions. I don't care what anyone says.
Your segue was fine.
Yeah. No.
Brutal.
So, we did talk about this in group chat, and I made some notes of it. So it was just I wanted to cover them again.
I don't even remember what I said. So this is
great. Then it'll be fresh. So, okay. So here's the main thing about the topic around abortion that I find interesting, and I want to start by saying, I completely support abortion rights. You should absolutely have the right to get one. I'm not against it. I'm not against that in any capacity. But here it is. All I'm talking about is being sus here. That's it. I'm not actually. I'm just talking about relative suspicions that I get, and that suspicion is when a rich person is like, like Obama, for example. He says things like, poor people or poor women should be able to, better plan for their future, and having access to it, they build up more wealth over time or whatever, right? And the thing about that I find the most interesting is that it just strikes me as when a rich person says it specifically, that you're really just saying, like, I don't want to have to pay for poor people's babies. Like, it just kind of reeks of that as like being like a soft form of eugenics, as opposed to like actually caring about like people's bodily autonomy.
Oh no, my birth rate.
So yeah, it's like it. Whereas like with like a conservative, when they say it, it's a little bit more straightforward in terms of like, oh well, if poor people have kids when they can't plan for it, then like they deserve to be poor, and we'll maintain like this particular strata that already currently exists, and we like that.
Conservatives say fuck them niggas.
So I don't know.
Yeah, but we definitely won't.
Dan called this smart and dumb Malthus.
Yeah. Thanks. I forgot I said that.
Yeah, it just it's one of those things where like if an average person is like, well, like I need to be able to have an abortion because like I'm broke, and if I were to get pregnant, like I wouldn't be able to like raise the kid right in terms of like providing everything for it. Like that's a legitimate concern that like absolutely shouldn't be questioned. Like I understand like why you need that then, but like as like a mechanism, when you talk about it like a mechanism for population control, like it just reeks in a way that like does make me slightly uncomfortable on some level.
I'm gonna take a bold, spicy take on that.
Mm-hmm.
I understand where you're where the sus is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
My counterpoint is that in this particular case, the ends do justify the means. Like I'll take the weird sussy sort of like.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying we should like change anything about people's access to it. I'm just saying that like lacking.
I missed that. I'm sorry.
No, well, I'm just saying lacking a post-scarce, like a society that like functions in a way that's moral, if you will.
Yeah.
A more moral economy, if you will. Lacking that situation, like
just say socialism.
That's fine. Yeah, lacking that sort of a situation. Listen, we're gonna piss off the one anarchist watching this, and that's not great. What are we gonna do?
When have I not pissed off the one anarchist watching us?
Listen, one day Anarchismus is going to become a fan of us without knowing any of our other views, and that's it's going to end poorly. He's going to get very mad at one point. But
that's me starting up my tank.
And that's when they're gonna. That'll be the reason he calls us fascist.
That'll be not the fact that we're currently indoors, right? Not that.
Yeah, we're indoors and pro bedtime.
You know
what?
I'm so pro bedtime anymore. I'm part of Big Bed.
Sometimes you gotta go to bed.
Yeah, I just want to point this out, John. You and I, as Jews, uniquely, we understand that the real problem with the Nazis was their over enforcement of bedtime.
Yeah, they made all the people in Auschwitz go to bed at 10 p.m. It was terrible.
Indoors. That was the uniquely bad thing about Auschwitz. That's what our ancestors suffered under and ran away from. Yeah. So he's right.
Okay.
That Frenchman called it.
No, so
Okay, Thanos, you just went too far.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, Hitler, the acquisition of Poland and the ghettoization of minority populations, that was bad, but you crossed the line into real fascism the moment you said bedtime is at 8 p.m. Fucking idiot.
yeah, and then okay, so then so just to briefly go back over that, again, if an average person tells me I need access to it because my family can't help me right now and I make $10 an hour and like X, Y, and Z reasons that are completely valid that going toward family planning or whatever.
Yeah.
I completely respect that. When someone's like, yeah, when poor people have kids, we end up paying for them. That's a terrible point. Like, and I don't trust you when you say that. That kind of a thing.
It's kind of wholly irrelevant too, because like, what's your end game with that plan? Like, it's obvious you're just poor people shouldn't have kids. Like, I'll say this: when it comes to like the conservative point that like those kids should be able to be born, it really should. Like, I agree with that to some point, because if you like look at your wallet and you're like, well, I have to have an abortion because my wallet will support that and not raising a child, like that's evidence that the society is too cruel. The problem with that
I have a take.
What's that?
I want to hear Michael Jordan Peterson's take.
Shoot.
Okay. I think part of that is an economic reason, but I think the larger part of it is that they don't believe in a future.
Who doesn't believe in the future?
Yeah, I can.
I was hoping for a fun, not actual take. You're killing. Can you give me something a little spicier?
Oh,
just as a side.
I'm terrible with spicy. I don't.
That's why.
I mean, people want to eat their children. There you go.
I eat pepper. Well, yeah, adrenochrome.
Adrenochrome. Yes, there we go.
Yeah.
All right. Back to the real take.
Epstein.
Epstein. Yeah, by all means, like, there's no like conservatives are also the party that wants to make sure that the banalities of life really are that cruel and miserable. So they just nakedly telegraph. They're like, you should suffer the fact that you got pregnant, and then you should torture your offspring in this society, because if you don't, we will. Which is like disgusting. Just
it's true.
You're the party of human cruelty, and that like every day you're alive is a war crime under the Geneva Convention, and there's not really like there's not really like a moral argument against you through like the gallows. You know what I mean? Like I censored it, don't worry, it's fine. But like
legally these are jokes.
Legally these are facts, because that's self-defense.
Gallows humor.
Thank you. It was.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah, but like if you look at what liberals are saying, it's like it would be better if they had the responsibility to society to not have those children, which like that's if I pull out a measuring stick, I'm pretty sure that's only like a half an inch away from what the conservative just said. So
but it would really be good for society.
But it is a half an inch in the right direction.
No, you can make an argument that that's actually worse. Like, yeah, you should murder your kids if your wallet won't support it. That's responsible to society.
I meant the liberals.
I know what you mean. I mean them too. Yeah, that like the liberal position isn't it's good of you to think of society when you're, aborting your child. Like it should be like the classic health reason, I think, and I'm going to use that because the human life that's already here is, more tangible than the hypothetical that may not even survive that
well,
long.
I mean, there's plenty of in a post-scarce society. There are plenty of reasons why you'd still get an abortion,
and
so
you could also just not want to raise a child, and this could be a nasty genetic trick, and that's also fine. But if it's literally like the burden should not be you have to make a cost-benefit analysis, that's, I think, cruel. And I do know an anti-abortion woman who's had an abortion specifically because she was like, I think I would be unfit to be a mother at this time. And, my problem with her is not that she had the abortion. My problem is that she's now against other people doing it.
Right.
That
It was
is-
okay when I did it.
Right. You know, so like, yeah, you can make decisions about your own skill level, your own preparedness, but if that is a strictly an economic burden, that the conservatives are banally correct that economics should not govern this, but their solution to it is just starve your kids. Have them and let them starve to death because you're a bad person for even having them to begin with, which is like the most sickening way.
Whoa! Well, how else are we gonna fill the labor shortage?
Right. So that's where, you know, to define the terms dumb and smart Malthus. Smart Malthus is supposed to be like, it's laudable that you understand that you're a burden on society, whereas dumb Malthus is you should suffer because of it. Like the you know, these are just not good takes.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's
Though
unanimous.
the
I
other
said something everybody liked for once. That's nice.
You do that. You do that every once in a while.
It's rare. I'm gonna mark it down.
It's
good number 4.
hard for me to and Cenk to reconcile.
Yeah, it's normally when you don't try.
yeah, that's a good way. That's a good point.
That's true.
You also only barely scratched capitalism on that one, so
Well, the capitalism is underpinned, and even like okay, this is how you know Cenk's not a conservative, because even a conservative, he would have a problem with it. Number
Yeah.
one, I lumped him in with the liberals, like for that purpose. Then, and number two, they should just
he has a
suffer.
soul. He has a soul.
Yeah, he still has a soul, and he's not pro economics being the determining factor on your ability to plan a family, which is the correct position to have. It's a banal position, frankly.
Yeah,
And today
I
we
didn't think
praise
that
the
was
Lord thy
particularly a spicy take from the commies today.
Yeah.
market. Today
It's like,
we will celebrate the market.
On the day of your birth, the Dow Jones was this. If it drops below that on your next birthday, we'll have to kill you. Capital.
It's just business, you understand.
Yeah, it's just business. You are a curse. We will find out if you are a curse or not on the markets.
You with the dark skin. You are just not fit for the market.
Labor! You
That
are
is-
free labor!
That is your inferiority. Your corruption.
I like, you know what, too? I want to point this out, right? I want to point this out.
Mhm.
A lot of people take beef with the wage slavery argument, but I'm going to go so far as to say that there's a whole lot of unwaged slavery in capitalism. And the real problem, like if you boil it down, the problem with slavery was that it was entirely unwaged, and it was at force to make sure that unwagement goes on, which capitalism is now just like, it's like Foucault said, you know what I mean? Like, we'll just extract it and make the fucking prison in your own head. We'll put the slavery inside of you instead of an external force. That way you have nothing to bitch about. Like, I don't, Foucault's kind of a dick, but he's right.
oh man, talk about the fucking slavery being in your head. I was talking with my coworker, one of my coworkers, earlier this week, and he's like, I think that they're keeping us here through the healthcare that they offer. I'm like, yeah, you're getting it.
Oh,
Like,
shit!
Wait, what's his
Yeah.
position? Where did he
In a
have it?
shocking turn of events, if healthcare was free, he was like looking into potentially leaving the company I work for, and for him to go on Cobra for like 1 month is like
$40,000.
$5,000. Like $5,000. If nothing happens, he pays $5,000.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
And
just
there's
like-
your moment of clarity. It should be.
Yeah,
it
he's
should
just
be
like,
free.
why?
That-
Well,
Dude, that's when you're like, I got some other really wild shit to tell you. Did you know they're stealing from you every minute you're here? I got some other
Look all
wild
o-
shit.
Look all around you. It's all privatized.
You notice how you don't own shit, but you're the one who still has to make the money around here? Did you ever think of that? And they hold you hostage by saying you might pay less and go to the hospital if you get hurt. It's
Divisions
all
in
worth the
labor.
same thing. Yeah, divisions in labor.
Do you think if you tell everybody
About this Ukraine thing, there's a war going on, and it's just class war.
Yeah.
it is.
If you explain every situation in that voice, I think people will believe you more.
Do you think?
Possibly, yeah.
Hey, buddy, let me tell you something here. You think the healthcare racket's bad? Just wait till I tell you what they do with your hourly wage. They're screwing you, pal. I get a lot
Is
of
that
voice.
what like the Communist
more
Party of
inclined
the
to believe
USA
him.
sounded like back in like 1920?
Absolutely,
like-
good golly, we did.
Just
Hey, buddy.
just get a barbershop quartet to say the most
They're
radical shit you can think of.
fucking you. Come on, guys, let's do it. Ready? They're
fucking
fucking you.
I'm not doing this.
Come on, just do it.
We're definitely getting flagged for this.
Reds,
We
women
should have
are
been adult-only
women.
content anyway, so it's fine. You're saying like we got flagged like it was an idiot.
men.
They steal your wages.
And they also eat babies.
You've heard of that famous Marxist poem, right? Karl Marx himself wrote it. Oh, hold on, let me see if I can remember
The
this.
manifesto.
Oh, the boss gets the surplus value, and the worker gets all that remains.
All the
So working men of all countries unite. You've got nothing to lose but your chains.
I want to tell
Nothing
the
to
listeners
lose
today
but
that Dan was certain he was not going to talk too much today. I just want to be clear about that. This is the
He got swept up in the moment.
You
The
telling
fancy
me?
struck him. The
I still,
inspiration.
thank you. Yeah,
The
Well,
divine spark.
yeah. I had to say.
The divine feminine.
depending on who you ask, many people on this podcast are white. And I have to phrase it that way because it really does depend on who you ask.
Are you though?
Dan being,
Are you though?
I mean, I don't know, man.
Are you though?
What? I don't know, man.
Pass the sniff test.
Once
You know,
Biden was like, if you don't
Judaism
vote for
is
me-
a nullifier.
Well, I wasn't, and then I didn't vote for Biden, and now I am.
yeah, no, we didn't vote in the primary for him, and we like retroactively became white, like according to him, like
Oh no, I
months
forgot I
ago.
lost my black card.
I don't know, man. So yeah, again, depending on who you ask, many of us are white.
Does that mean I get a
I'm white.
401k now?
Yes.
Sorry.
I like to think of myself as
Yes, but it won't
as
mean
a
anything.
Jew. To be
And
that means there's two modes where technically I may or may not be white. I'm Schrodinger's white man.
exactly.
Everyone is Schrodinger's white.
But you definitely this morning or last night you definitely tilted more toward being white by drinking your own shit by accident.
Yeah.
So that's why you weren't feeling so great, and it's okay. It happens to the best of us.
I know. That is the apex of whiteness is when you just chug chocolate milk, which is made up of your own feces and just cow milk.
I thought
did
it was
on a
making
dare.
I thought it was making up excuses for aberrant shit.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the reason I did it is because, like, I was listening to the Native Americans, and
There it is.
they were listening to the wind, and they told me that their spirits told me it was a good idea, and you have to respect the inherentness of nature with the Native American.
Nice. Just a little appropriation in there. Yeah.
Yeah, just a taste, just like that shit, just a little taste.
A little bit of ahistorical.
Yeah,
revisionism
buddy.
there, too. Yeah, good.
Yeah, buddy. You can make fun of the Aztecs for not figuring out the wheel, but they knew where to poop. So I mean,
you know what's funny? They also did figure out the wheel. As it turns out, it's really hard to like roll carts around fucking
right.
jungles and swamplands, but white people can't figure that out.
Come on, man. In Indiana Jones, just rolling boulder in every time.
Yeah,
That's right.
they did. They're boys. They had complex
wheel
steering.
You ever see Apocalypto? It was exactly like that.
Yeah. Just a bunch of cannibals.
Fucking
right?
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson. Oh boy. No, dude, those fucking they found toys from that era, and like the toys had were still functioning complex gears. Like you can't have a gear without a wheel, so like theory disproven, dickhead.
Nah, that's wheel shaped. All right.
Whoa.
I'm gonna get very
Brown people can't have
benign about this. That's wheel shaped. That's
That's
not a
like
wheel.
8 levers put in a circle. Okay, man. Okay.
So complex.
Trying to say
We
that,
invented this.
yeah, trying to say that non-whites didn't have critical pieces of technology they clearly had is a really white move of you, John.
The most of all.
It's the whitest move.
Congratulations, you've earned your title.
My God, how could these Egyptians build a pyramid? Well, they did this. No, it had to be a foreigner from beyond, an alien.
Alien.
It could not have been simple engineering. It couldn't have done. I'm sorry. I'm done.
Just leave your nose on the table.
I love the people who are like, how did they build it? The answer is obviously from the bottom up. It's really tough to build it from the top
Aliens.
Yeah, really.
Aliens.
Aliens.
Aliens and Jewish space lasers.
I knew it.
That's what the Jewish. See, that's why I don't understand. Those people all believe in aliens. And they're like pissed off about the Jewish space laser. What do you think the Space Force is, dickhead? We're shooting aliens down out of the sky, and you're all mad at us. Now, what the hell? Can't be both.
You don't get it both ways.
The femur of the tibia of the scapulated base plate is different, so that means they're inferior. You didn't say anything. You just made up words.
Yeah.
That's what we all do. That's what we always do.
Then Chomsky comes along. That's how language works. It's all made up. Derrida too. It's all symbology for the absence. It's all symbology for the absence. Well,
It is made up.
yeah, of course it was. All words are made up, but like we have
A shared meaning.
Yeah, we have a complex society and a shared meaning. So like, and the fact that we can exchange those made up words with other made up words is be able to speak in another language. The meaning is whether or not. Look, man, at some point somebody built the first house. The first house was made up. That doesn't mean the houses aren't fucking important. Oh no, he's going full anarchist. No, Jake, no.
what are you doing?
Are the houses important?
No.
Where did we go wrong?
No. No, he went full anarchismus. No, next he's gonna say we're fascists for having bedtimes.
No. I like my
I was
bedtime.
saying we need to put in our bios somewhere, like on the
Bedtime.
page or whatever, that we're pro bedtime.
Pro bedtime.
We have to put that somewhere.
Yeah.
Trying to defend yourself, you're authoritarian.
With he's some sort of a Castroist bedtimist, huh, pal? Or some sort of authoritarian. That needs to go at the end of like every fucking word salad people use to describe themselves politically.
Afro bedtime futurist.
If you go to the international dateline, you can have 2 bedtimes.
Oh shit! Yeah.
I'm buying a boat.
Yeah, I'm gonna live in the dateline. That way, I always have bedtime. It's always bedtime for me somewhere, baby. In a house. Ooh, shit. I read that. Yeah, if you can you imagine if like the internet was the thing we had and not like actual books to like show what fascism was and shit? Because like in like 500 years they'd be like, wow, they had this problem with something called fascism thanks to this French fucking philosopher anarchismus. Fascism doesn't seem all that bad because it was just about going to bed on time and eating your vegetables.
I swear to God, if this class of the future at Twitter will pull it up, I'm gonna laugh my ass off.
Yeah. Speaking of, this is a great transition. Speaking of transitions,
Oh yeah.
speaking
Until you called
areas
it out.
that right wingers infiltrate that leftists refuse to deal with. God, this is terrible. But have you guys heard of the manosphere?
No.
I've heard of it. It's something I thought
Wait, is that incel bullshit?
It's like the incel bullshit. It's the incels
think
who
I've
decide
heard
that
of
they're gonna make the best of the world.
Straight up, I thought that was I've heard of it. I thought that was a gay thing.
It is.
No, it's so what the manosphere
They're trying to
is.
impress each other. It is.
That's what I thought. I thought it was just a place where horny dudes went to talk, and I was like, it's not for me.
They're just not honest about it.
Have fun, pals. Like go have when you need to have some fun, comrades. Go have fun in the manosphere. I also kind of thought that was a euphemism for the anus.
Yeah, it's a practice. It's what they call the penetration.
Yeah. Well,
So-
okay. To be fair, like I know you're making silly jokes and they're funny, but like they are. I'm giggling. But also, like I was just legitimately trying not to be bioessentialist, and I thought that was just like they were talking about the gay sex organ, the anus, according to that lesbian.
Because I'm 12.
Because obviously the person who should be talking most about cishet gay sex or the subject of gay male sex at large is clearly a lesbian. They know the most.
No homo.
Yeah. So the reason I brought the manosphere up is that according to YouTube viewership, so this is the only metric I've got, but this is YouTube viewership is especially important to younger people, but everybody uses that in some capacity.
Okay.
According to YouTube
Everybody
viewership,
poops.
since January 6th, since 1/6, when they started taking down a bunch of QAnon content as a policy, at almost a 1-to-1 rate, manosphere content has replaced it.
What?
And manosphere... Mhm.
Oh, I was just gonna say what?
Wait, they replaced what?
They were
So replaced it in terms of not like literally, like they replaced the channels and started uploading that stuff, but in terms of that viewership amount, manosphere content is now as viewed as QAnon content was a year or 2 years ago or so, which is to say that it is now a very predominant, if not like the largest of a segment of right-wing content that you see on YouTube. And manosphere content boils down into like general incel content, which is like just like it's been well trotted over at this point, but like women are hypergamous and like my skull is shaped a certain way, so I'll never get laid, like that kind of content.
Clitoris doesn't
Okay.
exist.
How is that?
And
How is
Mhm.
that a masculine issue though? Like that sounds like the most neurotic thing. Like that should be stuff
well,
that you'd think
It's
you'd
more
see
like-
that in a
it's more
Woody
like-
Allen movie.
It's more like the
Well,
clitoris doesn't
it's-
exist, and how do you find it?
but it's split to get to the other point. It's split between that kind of content and then like dating advice, but like very right wing.
It's like how to commit a date rape advice.
The answer. Yeah,
like
pretty
essentially
much,
like how to trick somebody into having sex with you, but like
that one
also
piece
like
at
skull
that one
size
time.
matters. Like like
All skull sizes matter. Okay.
so like and
I like I like it because there's specific channels that I love that tear that shit to shreds, usually by women.
yeah, it's
It's
a lot of it
fantastic.
is funny in the sense that like it's like wrong on a lot of levels, but it's also like you decided to be a right winger and like this is how it manifests, huh?
Oh wait, this is like that Rush V cover of "I like big butts." You like big butts, and therefore you're gay. I can't believe.
Yeah,
that's
this is
something
like
you'd
Roosh V
say.
stuff. Well, Roosh V was used
You
to be
like
in the
big
manosphere.
You like big butts, and that's not a trad wife, so you gotta give up and kill yourself.
That
I
ass
mean,
has to be so
in-
flat. You need a
in
pea-shaped
Minecraft.
woman.
In Minecraft,
Pea-shaped woman.
She has to have giant breasts and the butt of a 12-year-old boy. That's how you know you're a heterosexual.
she's just gotta look like a 12-year-old boy.
If it doesn't remind you of
In
your
fact-
own ass at 12.
In fact, just get a 12-year-old boy.
Yeah, dude, the straightest thing for these people is just buying a 12-year-old boy sex slave. Okay, all right. So now, all right, I understand where we're hanging out at.
Oh, problem solved.
Oh, libertarian communities come
Yeah.
back again.
The crypto bros are back at it again.
So the reason I brought this up was now this is a little stale at this point, but I thought the example is very funny. Have any of you heard of the Fresh and Fit podcast
No.
by any chance?
No.
So this is
Praise for it.
this is content where two people started a dating advice podcast, and one of them used to be a DHS agent.
Either of them married?
Hmm?
Are either of them married?
No,
I don't know. I don't think either of them are married.
they're married
So-
to each other.
Hilarious.
So yeah,
They're married to the job.
and
Of
the
DHS.
so they
And for our
you
bona
know,
fides, we brought one woman. Exactly
No,
one
all they
sacrifice.
do. This is my
One
favorite
very
thing.
P-shaped blonde woman.
Well,
She might sound masculine.
Yeah.
their main shtick is that they just get models, like Instagram models, onto their podcast and scream at them for like an hour and a half.
Oh, I saw
Well,
that. It's
Yeah, you know, it is like, and
it's glorious to witness.
yeah, it
What's
is
this
very
called again?
fresh and fit.
Ah.
It's yeah. Go ahead and you can go ahead and
Oh,
Just
you
Google
like train
NM.
wrecks, my dude.
so
You know
it's-
what's funny is I googled the word train wreck and that's what came up.
I've seen videos about this before.
Yeah, it was pretty popular as like a viral thing because basically like finally like they like got an Instagram model on who like was able to go like back and forth with them and like actually challenge them and like wasn't intimidated being there, and they got owned immediately in a way that was like very funny. But the reason I brought
my
this up is
penis
this.
hurts. The girl was mean to me. And that has big
No.
Peter Coffin. You know what though? That's
Oh
the same kind of vibe.
Oh no, an Instagram model. What a nightmare.
That's like his erratic beef with AOC and random women. Or excuse me, their their beef with random women on the internet. It's like you didn't come to my birthday party. I've been owned by a woman, and I feel bad now.
Ooh.
What
Peter
happened to them? This is an aside, but God, what happened to them?
Um,
They-
Who?
Peter Coffin.
Oh,
so
it's
they went off the deep end.
there's the door thing. It's part of the door thing. All right, it's part of that Russia shit because like nobody had the correct point to just laugh at them. Right? Nobody had the correct point to just laugh at the liberals because their premise is that fucking Russia with like, $500 and a bunch of guys named Sergey destroyed an American election. Right? Yeah, like their entire narrative was just silly. So like even if you believe their conspiracy theory, which it is, it's just a conspiracy theory, but if you believed it, like holy shit, like these are the same people who are like you have to have certain merits to get certain jobs. Like you don't have the merit to get the job that you have. It's fundamental, like it completely destroys the narrative of liberalism, right? So like instead of just being like, isn't that the funniest thing ever? They're like, yeah, we're not fit for the jobs we have, and then we're gonna demand you vote for us. Like we should have those jobs, which was the easiest line of attack. Which that whole crowd gets so mad if you even like, if you play devil's advocate that the liberals are right, and then you laugh at them, they get mad at you. Taibbi doesn't. Taibbi thinks it's funny, but he's the only one who still has like his brain intact, right? Because
Got it. The thing that happened to PD happened to Crystal Ball.
Bingo. So, bingo. So, like, those guys all had this weird situation where they're like, they were trying to, like, they were really convinced that as YouTubers and streamers in an unhealthy distance relationship with their audience, they could, like, lead a movement. It's very much an advanced form of Vauch's grift or brain syndrome. Yeah,
What
we're
brain?
right. So it's like an advanced form of that. So they're like, well, we have to go where the workers are going. And the loudest workers, as it turns out, are whites who've been permitted to have racial grievance as a working class issue for some reason. Like that's just liberals are okay, and it's totally in play that whites have race grievances. Black race grievances.
I'm laughing my ass off that they was calling the truckers the workers.
Well, they are workers, but like they're a subset of workers who the material
Petty
conditions
bouge.
are sketchy. Yeah, they're petite bourgeois workers. So like the petite bourgeois have a tendency towards fascism that's stronger than a worker's tendency towards fascism because of the class.
well, also like a lot of that seemed to be astroturfed, and like we're probably not going to know the whole picture. We're not going to know the whole picture on like how shitty the origins of that war for a little bit.
Yeah,
But
it's
more to the go ahead.
no. I mean, you're right, but like the petite bourgeois can only astroturf because they don't have actual. It's all false consciousness.
Right. It is that's that's the thing is that like their causes are astroturfed and supported by people with larger amounts of money just because like ultimately it benefits them and it
Yeah.
not to
LOL.
use their shit, but it's essentially a false flag. Like
LOL,
it's bullshit.
They get on stage. What do we want?
I want the vaccines to go away.
I don't like
and
the mask.
I don't like masks. I have a religious constitutional objection. You're Canadian.
Hey, yeah, man, my mom be tripping, man. Get her off my back.
Yeah. So like that's all that is. It's just a bunch of bullshit. But
Oh,
yeah,
please pay the CEOs more, please.
To bring it back,
Are we going back to
This
Coffin
is-
or are we going to the manosphere?
the manosphere stuff.
Oh, let me
and
finish the Coffin tangent first, please.
Go ahead.
All right. So then Coffin like breaks up with his leftist wife, right?
Mhm.
Oh no,
and
I liked her.
Yeah, Ash is she's good people. But she got a lot when they split. As it turns out, the white men with racial grievances also had illegitimate grievances against women.
Oh,
And because Coffin is, whether or not Coffin wants to be, Coffin is highly male presenting. That's involuntary. You can't have a beard that thick and those kind of dad nips without looking masculine. Like you just can't. So they empathize with Petey and all those sexists who, again, for some reason, that's a legitimate grievance for white men. Isn't that weird?
I didn't any of this.
Yeah, it's legitimate when white men do it for some god awful reason.
Does that mean Ash is single?
I don't know. I don't know if she's still on Twitter. But then they just went and fucking stomped her shit, and then Pete fed them. Pete kind of like he fed them some of the vaccine skepticism.
Oh no.
Oh,
Is that what? Yeah.
this is turning into a sad story.
It is, and then so he's in that weird
Do we
spot.
call him PD Door?
Yeah, you can, because they did the same move. They essentially are trying to appeal to a right wing audience and loop over on a bodily autonomy issue. Like that's what like if you were to give Dorr a generous reading, he's trying to loop right wingers in to leftism on a bodily autonomy issue, which there are superior ways to do that because I don't fundamentally disagree with the idea that you should take the vaccine, but your boss should not have the authority to stick a needle in your arm. Like, I actually agree with that.
Sure, I agree with that statement exactly.
Yeah, so like the way they're
Also,
so instead of making the grounds like vaccines work, but you as a worker have a right to your own belief set, and part of wider class solidarity is respecting your individual bodily autonomy and you reciprocating, not attacking people who've gotten vaccinated, not attacking people who haven't. And then
so you're saying they accepted the false premise and then just right down after that.
Right.
Simultaneously, I'd say though that like having a mask mandate at work is like
safety
not
equipment.
it's just safety equipment, and like if you're not going to you have to at least respect that basically.
It's literally PPE.
It is just PPE. Like that's the distinction. Like that's the distinction that I lie on, which is they can't stick a needle in your arm, but yes, for the good of your fellow workers, you have to wear a mask.
Wear your goddamn harness.
Yeah, wear your goddamn safety harness. If you fall, who fucking knows how many people you hurt on the way down, dickhead? And like your bodily autonomy does not override that moral concern for other workers' well-being. And
or
frankly,
the profit motives.
Well, the profit motive doesn't care. Interestingly enough, it has never had a problem working people to death. That has never proven unprofitable. So
yeah, but there's a labor shortage. You got the labor shortage. Just get the kids in, okay?
Yeah, they've already proposed that. In fact, some states are doing it.
I know. That's why I bring it up.
Yeah, well, that's for the audience. I know you know. We talked about it. We were
Oh,
laughing at it.
okay.
Yeah, remember?
No,
Oh,
I lose track.
that's true. We talked about a lot of stuff.
There's so many grifters. I can't keep things straight anymore.
It does get hard at times.
We talk about this person, and then another grifter, and I'm like, oh, I got to move on to the next, and then this person, and then all of a sudden they're like, COVID vaccines. You're like, oh, you motherfucker, get out of here. You're back over here, and then you got Vosh loud ass mouth. You're like, what the fuck, man? What are you doing?
Oh, that one. I like how he's supposed to be the socialist darling.
I'm
And
sorry, I don't see anything that's not conservative about him.
yeah, because he's just a fucking lib. For all that talk, he's just an identity-driven liberal with a weird white identity grievance complex, which is just
Like
bizarre.
at least the SOCDEMs are trying. Like, god damn, bro. Like,
yeah, imagine a SOCDEM who was really worried about white people. I said disarming, but alarming is the word I wanted.
yeah. He's super worried. What about the chuds? What are you gonna do about the chuds?
Excuse me, that sounds like white genocide.
They do that all the time. It makes me so annoyed. They're like, well, we gotta work together for the good of the MAGA chuds, and you're like, bro, we are supposed to convert them or eliminate them. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's self-defensive war. They can join our side and thus act out of self-defense with us, or they're the thing we're defending against. Like, what are you doing? Why? And like the white identity shit. Holy fuck, man! The white genocide stuff out of Vouch.
I'm sorry.
He really
kept
fucking stepped in
distracting
on
you.
that one.
Finish up on PD so we can get back to the manosphere.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where PD's at now. So he's got that weird like nihilistic left grievance engine going, and he's got himself a nice little slice of right-wing followers who are like, this weird NB guy is telling it like it is. And like,
Yeah.
do you ever know, like, just as another aside too, you ever notice how those freaks are like entirely hyper disrespectful of people's pronouns until they agree with them, and then suddenly they're fucking woke experts? Does that not worry anybody else about the nature of wokeness at all? Like,
I don't know if that's a problem with wokeness so much as a problem with fucking
the whole woke concept
hyper-conservative
it's
douchebags,
completely
but
made
whatever.
up. It's a conservative tool to attack.
yeah, that's like, it seems very easy for them to switch modes and dials and code switch.
Like they just make up some like woke like you mean just class consciousness? No, we mean blue hair. And you're like, oh, what the fuck are you even talking about anymore? You're making shit up. Like,
yeah. So I don't know.
I thought we were just talking about class consciousness. That's what I thought. I thought that. I'm sorry, I'm wrong.
Yeah, I want to talk about class consciousness.
Well, fuck, I'm gonna go talk about class consciousness over there. You can do you.
You do you, weirdo. Yeah, I don't know, man. There's just something worries me about those kind of framings. If it's that easy for the conservatives to turn a dial and be in agreement and then be off again, like that framing worries me.
I mean, they do it for fucking everything. They do it for literally everything.
They court this team and then they're surprised when they're not loyal.
They do it for literally everything.
I don't think they do, though. I think they do it where it's stuff that they can adapt to, which is like liberalism.
I think they just do it for everything.
I think if you're that close to being a liberal already, like they can't fathom Marx because they can't speak the language. They can speak the language of liberals because they're still inherently liberals.
Because they have brain worms, they can't.
Right.
You can't pick up a book with brain worms.
Did anybody? This is a real. I know we're on yet another tangent. We're so many layers out now. But did anybody read Fukuyama's like 2017 interview where he quote unquote accepted Marx?
No,
I haven't heard of any of that.
Oh, Google that shit. I clipped 2 pieces of it. It's the funniest fucking bullshit because he's like, well, Marx was wrong about his premise of the means of ownership being public and shared, but I do agree with the welfare state, which like that's not what Marx was talking about at all. So like they can't. Like that's what I mean. The difference
they just can't.
No, they can't even begin to fathom or they summarily disagree with what Marx was talking about because like
they go 2 words in and they're like, no, I can't do this.
Yeah, I can't do that. Yeah, so like that's what I'm saying. Like my problem with the woke premise is how easily it is for them to adapt because something that is something that is not within their existing wheelhouse, aka Marxism, it's still just the
No,
ones who
well,
are
I mean,
non-serious, it's a foreign concept.
what it comes down to is it's again it's standpoint epistemology, which like they do. Like it's not. I'm not gonna do the rant that I always do, but yeah, they do it as much as the people that they claim to hate,
Oh, most
and
certainly.
and they love it. They can't stop indulging in it in a way that is frankly hilarious.
Yeah.
Because again, they swear they're not the thing, and then they'll tell you about how they're the most oppressed minority. Actually, is the conservatives or the religious Christians or whatever.
Christians or yeah.
So they do
Which
the
is
exact same
funny
thing.
because they literally invented
Well,
slavery.
that and you see what I'm driving at though as the problem. Those are fundamentally conservative positions because they can understand them. They can't fathom the left. They can fathom that shit because they want to live in that sphere where they're having, essentially reducing it down to a victimhood Olympics, right? That's what they want to reduce it down to. But they can
Even though
do
they
that,
complain about that exact thing,
right?
but it is competition ultimately.
Right. That's
So
all
they
they
actually
see it
love
as.
it.
Yeah, and that that's what I want to stress about. Like, I don't think people who are I don't think leftists who are engaging with leftism in that means are by any means bad actors. I think they do mean well, and I think there are things that they can do that are very, very good. The problem is it's an inherently conservative
Brainwash.
worldview, riddled
Liberal
with
brainwash.
brainworms. Yeah.
Well, not only that, but like you got to understand, like you need some of that to just navigate the world normally. It's not that like it's inherently bad. It's the unknown knowns that you absorb along the way
Right.
that like end up becoming bad. And some people just like revel in that, whereas other people like they don't broaden their view, their standpoint on these issues anywhere beyond that concept. And yeah, I mean, if you don't have views of hierarchy and like economics beyond the critique that you make, then like yeah, you're gonna end up basically being a hippie, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's like the hippies versus the nutters in every video game.
Yeah, right.
I love how they're always like, we're so victimized, and then when a real victim shows up, they're like, get out of here.
Zizek has a joke.
We got real victimized. Oh, I want to hear that.
Yeah, I want to hear that joke.
Okay, so it's Sabbath. The Jews are at the temple.
Yes, I know this one.
You know this one. The rabbi says, "God, before you we are nothing." And members of the congregation begin to stand up. God, first a banker stands up. God, before you I am nothing. And a lawyer stands up. God, before you I am nothing. And then the owner of several small local businesses says, God, before you I am nothing. Now, from the back of the temple, there is a homeless man seated. He stands up and holds his hat in his hand. He says, God, before you I really am nothing. So the small businessman looks at the banker angrily, and the banker looks at the lawyer, and the lawyer shrugs and looks at them, and he says, can you believe this guy? Who the fuck does he think he is saying that he's nothing? Who the fuck is he? It's that kind of false, like, and libs love doing that too. Like, oh, I'm such a big victim, so I get to lord it over you how big a victim I am and shit. We're operating in a fundamentally conservative space that still operates in the same principles of hierarchy. They're just twisted and distorted. But again,
because I did it while also being.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the manosphere.
Yeah, finally back to the manosphere.
No, I'm all good with the tangents because they go good places.
Killing time.
Yeah. So the manosphere stuff. The main thing I was going to get to and ask about is so the original concept here was are there areas that the left has sort of checked out of in terms of media that we've regarded as being regressionary or like inherently bad, that are perhaps worth getting into. And I'm not saying we do this, but I am just curious about this discourse because I did find it interesting. So, for example, dating advice, right? The fact that the right wing goes headlong into covering these topics and putting a spin on these topics in such a way, is that a realm that the left should examine? Because it looks like the right has made quite a bit of inroads there. Is that something that's worth thinking about? And again, I'm not giving anyone any piece of fucking dating advice, but I am just curious about the topic.
What do you mean by it should be examined?
So what I mean by that is specifically, if the right wing has had all the success with creating dating advice media that's gets people also thinking about right wing politics, is it fruitful for the left to do so, or is dating advice with like sort of a left wing lens like not possible because dating advice is like reactionary in some capacity, like inherently?
Isn't Hassan Piker trying that shit?
Yeah, I think him and I forget the guy's name, but I think they're trying to do that. But that was the discourse that was created around that.
Having dealt with that stupid bullshit, I would say that it would mostly be fruitless. Mostly because they're looking for easy answers, and the easiest answer is to not be a shitty human being.
Yeah, that's
and outside of that, the only other advice that I ever got from anything that I've ever read on any of those groups or anything like that, in all the years that I was following it, was basically that it's okay to touch other people, as long as you're respectful, and you get the consent, and yeah, just go for what you want. Like make it clear.
Yeah, I think that's generally correct. I think the idea is that
like there's like some very basic principles that, like, a lot of these guys, they're young. They don't know that you can literally, hey, walk up to someone and say, hey, how you doing? Start a conversation. That's the level that we're at here. I don't think left wise it would really work, because the entire business model is in not getting them success, but making them feel like they're closer.
Yeah, the other thing too, I think that's important here is that this was in a Danskin essay at one point, which is that one of the things that the right thrives on is idioms and essentially sayings, right? And the thing that I find interesting about that is that I think it really touches on what you said, which is that a lot of the people who seek that kind of content out are looking for easy answers. And, that specific subject is not, unfortunately, it's never going to be easy, right? At least to
how to communicate with people in a serious and meaningful manner isn't simple. That's fucking bullshit.
I wouldn't say that. I would more say the fact that, like, it's one of those things that, like, is not wholly. It's not wholly in the realm of logic. You can't you can't go in with a game plan. You can't treat it like war. You can't treat it like a fucking spreadsheet, right? And like, because of that, that means that like any advice that you'd get is essentially like a form of therapy for yourself, as opposed to like something that's like useful in any meaningful sense, right?
And I also noticed about it, it's very, very much so in that capitalist manner. They love to blame individuals and never ever take a look at society or the material conditions around the people.
Mm-hmm. No, well, that's a good way to put it, because like a lot of dating advice is about you as an individual, and like, like left-wing dating advice, or a left-wing perspective on
ultimately their advice turns into that Kevin Samuels bullshit, where it's like, oh, have you tried being super rich with all the, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
Have you
not
tried
only,
doing all this shit that's unrealistic? No, you don't have to do all that.
but like a left wing perspective on like people being able to meet would be something along the lines of like, well, you know, people need to have maybe work less. People need to have
Yes.
community spaces where
Yes.
they go frequently.
Yes.
Like, and
Yes.
yeah,
Because
all
under
of these.
socialism, people are more happy with their sex lives.
Well, not only that, but like they have more opportunities to meet people. And again, like the
All
number
of
one
it.
piece
It
of
all goes
advice
together.
that I think is valid is something along the lines of like, hey, you know, you gotta get like interests that like get you out there and like meeting people through mutual interests that
Not
but
necessarily. You
not
can
like
find someone with similar interests.
well yeah, but what I'm saying is like if you get out there and you do activities that like aren't like inherently the pursuit of a love interest, right? This is usually the
Right.
one piece of advice that I agree with. Then maybe you're more likely to meet somebody. And an economic model where more of those pieces of infrastructure exist for people to do that is not this one. So, you know, the thing about that though is that's the left wing perspective on it. But like, if you as the individual are like, yeah, but like, I'm lonely, I want to like meet someone. It doesn't have answers for that specifically. Whereas the right wing model has tons of answers for that. Now,
I mean, sure, there's an answer. This go do stuff. Go
yeah.
practices.
Right,
You
do
know what I
things
mean?
in the community, but they're not
Yeah,
going to give
yeah.
you an
Go
answer.
meet people.
They're not going to like give you fucking tactics to like talk to a woman like, you know, you're trying to trap an animal. Whereas like the right wing will give you that, and like that's the distinction that I think it ends up being like as to why there isn't like a lot of left wing content about it, because frankly it wouldn't revolve around that kind of thing.
Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, their advice is to just harass the shit out of her.
I know it's
okay. Just
now
this
that
one
being
time
said,
and
I'm
regrets it
you know,
forever.
gonna weigh into your original question. Now everybody else has had a shot, and I'm gonna start with this. I think we should be trying to formulate a good old classic religion, because I think any ground you cede to the right is ground that is your fault that you lost. So yeah, it's not a fruitless endeavor to teach people how to socialize and to give them a context of healthy socialization. At least where I'm sitting, uh, we should be taking back those narratives. And unfortunately, we let liberalism dictate that to us as leftists, and that's our failure. Because like I don't disagree with you at all that we can't have a systemic critique of sexual dynamics, a hierarchical critique, an economic critique of any of these things. But at the end of the day, people still want to bust. Why are we letting the right wing give them that fucking hope? That's silly.
Because they fail.
It doesn't matter that they fail. The fact is we let them arbitrate what hope is. And I got to disagree with you guys. They have a lot of systemic critiques about romance. The problem is they're all awful.
Yeah,
I mean, they're really terrible takes.
I mean,
They're
yeah,
like,
of course we don't count those.
Well, you have to count those because they're giving an answer. Like you guys are like, oh, I don't know. Like I'm listening to you two talk, and it's like, oh, gee, I wonder why they're growing in that space. It's because it's like, well, there's nothing we could do anyway. Well, okay.
I mean,
sure, yeah.
I don't know. Their advice.
Well, I mean, it's
varies.
like the crypto. They're funded by grifting. Like what do you really suspect that are we supposed to do to make a sustainable model out of this?
What? Okay. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think that's a very fair question. Because
I'm gonna start grifting.
Yeah, Jank.
All right.
You be the left sex grifter.
Paint your nails blue. You'll get bitches.
Blue nails. Blue nails for the bitch.
Write it down, someone.
That's as
I
good
wrote
as
it
their
down.
advice. It's as good.
Yeah, it is.
We needed a slogan. Blue nails for the bitch.
Peacocking. Good job.
But like, look at the questions you're asking. You're asking like, what's even the point of trying? Like that's. You remember when I bitched about left-wing sloth? Like that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's better to try and fail to get our foothold in than it is to just seed the ground. Like, there's nothing inherently reactionary about busting unless you let the reactionaries have busting. And god damn it, they're bad at it. Why are we letting them have that? That's a fun thing to do. Why are we letting them have fun? They have all the cool shit. They have axe throwing, and now they've got busting.
They had guns. They had
have
axes.
Never had
Axes.
busting.
They're
They've
taking
never had
video
busting.
games. Well, you're letting them.
Um,
You're letting them with that kind of talk, my friend. You're just letting them have
All
busting.
I'm saying is people is dying out here. We got shit going on, man.
There's, you know what though?
And you want to,
And it's
to be
happening.
sitting
And
here
it's
talking
happening
about
because they're
dating.
not having enough sex.
I'm
I'm
not-
hip. I'm with it.
Is
that
really the linchpin?
All you need to do
Is
is
that-
pay
is that
for
the key?
my.
Is that
All you
the
need to do is
keystone?
pay for my advertising budget, and we'll be good to go.
I am not saying that it is individually the Sons of Trier's responsibility to become left-wing Marxist sexologists and fix that problem. What I am
I'll say
saying
it
is,
though.
though,
I will fucking say it.
You
I'm
will.
brave
You were
enough.
Dr. Dan Cohen, paging Dr. Dan
I
Cohen.
am a fucking metaphysician. I am no sexologist, and I'm not even like
no, you're the love doctor.
I'm not the love doctor. I just know how to bust for myself. I don't.
Well, I mean, why are you seeding the ground?
Listen, why?
Oh man, I love this is the thing that we're fucking fighting about.
I'm seeding the ground because you're seeding the ground. I'm CEDE. I'm SEEDING the ground because I'm jacking off so much.
Heyo.
Hey yo.
I don't stop. This guy don't stop busting. But you can't like think
Hey,
about what you're doing.
hey.
Mm.
We all know MJP with the bitches, man.
Listen, all I'm saying is I'm not the one who's going, well, it's all a grift. Everything's a goddamn grift in capitalism. It's all multi-level marketing at some point. So what do? Do we just give them the ground or do we make it fucking at least try so that the ideas are there? If we fail, somebody else can.
Look, I'm
Yeah,
still there.
I mean-
Have you tried to deal with these insults? But man, bro, it's something
Honestly,
else.
Consider showering. That one's for free, folks. You can sign up for my classes. They're $5,000 per class.
and all the proceeds will
Oh,
go to communism.
You are
Well,
100%. All the proceeds will go to at least one communist,
Yeah,
and and you are
two
guaranteed to get
communists.
bitches.
You just lost all your sales, sir.
Two
No,
Two
I remember-
commies. Two, because remember, I'm giving you a glowing review. I actually don't think that's shitty advice either. Because that's the kind of shit they want to hear. That's like, take a
I
fucking
know.
shower.
I know. I think. Oh man, it'd be so easy. I really should start.
But that's what I'm fucking saying. Like, that's the shit they're going there to hear. You guys are
I
like,
will back you up if you do.
I just gotta avoid. I just gotta avoid the part where they like slowly tilt them into right wing Nazis. If I can avoid that, I'm golden.
some of them will always become Nazis, and those we know how to deal with.
They just reawaken the Nazi that's inside.
Yeah, that's not becoming a Nazi. That's just activating their latent Nazi instinct.
My Nazi powers are activating. Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, think about what you're doing and what you're saying. Like, the message we're putting out there is hopeless. They have busting. I gotta tell you, if they've got busting, there's no point in trying. And we
Yeah,
should just
I
start.
want to be with them if they got busting.
Yeah, because they're
But
busted.
they don't. But they don't. They have the illusion of busting.
I've told you thousands of times, stop making Nazism sound so cool, okay?
But like for real though, yeah. Stop making it seem like they have a market on busting because they're shitty. And frankly, the sex they're having sucks compared to left wing sex.
It really does. You got to find yourself a nice, crazy left-wing girl.
You don't have
Guy.
to be crazy.
NB. Whatever. It helps.
It doesn't help.
Hey, crazy or
helps.
not, she will feel liberated and able to do whatever she wants.
No, nobody is going to be as crazy as a man or a woman who tells you with a straight face that fucking Mussolini fathered Patton and Donald Trump and JFK. You're never going to fuck somebody that crazy. Crazy sex is not as fucking.
I highly encourage you to find that.
To find that person,
Yeah.
go to Dallas
Find that
right
person.
now. Right now, they're
Dallas.
camping out in Dallas.
Just
Hold
don't
on.
get her pregnant.
Yeah, definitely. That's not one to bust in.
We got Cardi B for crying out loud.
December 1st, 2021, the fringe QAnon cult is still waiting for JFK Jr. miracle in Dallas. So as of December, they're still hanging out in Dallas. I can tell you where that crazy is, and I got to tell you, sucks at fucking.
So
Yeah.
that's the
Wait, you-
manosphere?
you
Is
think-
that what's going on?
No, I'm
Wait,
just saying. It's the statement is always get yourself a crazy person to bang. Well, no, don't do that.
No, don't.
There's
don't
there's an ideal type of crazy for sure.
There's a sexual ideal of crazy.
This is all talked about thoroughly in my classes. $5,000 sign up. Sons of Trier .love .x
Dot busted.
whatever. Busted.
Dot busted.
change your life forever.
By bussin'.
So what now?
Wow,
Do we still the alpha male?
I want to point this out. Conservative against good bussin'. Biden against good bussin' in two sentences.
Without a doubt.
So
Does not bus.
you need the commies for bussin'. We'll get you bussin'. We'll get you lady bussin', boy bussin', NB bussin', trans bussin'. You want to be bussin'? It don't matter how you're bussin'. We'll get you bussin'.
Yeah, we'll get you from A to B.
And
That's
that is
A to B bussin'.
ABB. Always be bussin'. We got a
Always
slogan.
be bussing.
Always be bussin'. It has to be bussin'.
Yeah.
Too. I can't do busting.
See, this is definitely a situation though where like the anarchists would be like, we've definitely got the busting more than you do.
No, they don't. Are you fucking
Yeah, they
serious?
do.
No, they don't.
They
Yeah, right.
100%. They would
No.
absolutely be like, we definitely have that.
Not,
over here.
not at all.
Oh, no.
Not at all. You
Oh,
find me an anarchist who likes sex. Find it. Erica sock them. Try again. Find me an anarchist who likes sex. No, the anarchists like the appearance of being sexually attractive, but in reality don't want to touch anybody because it would violate their bodily autonomy if, they couldn't do whatever weird sex thing.
I can't touch you because it would be an unfair power structure.
Yeah.
No, but the
Oh, I
the
can't fuck you
anarchist-
because the government might form.
Yeah, they definitely like have a paranoid reading of everything ever. It's kind of amazing, but
Yeah. They can't be fucked.
But they
have
would
to align.
they would at the very least try to stress something along the lines of like, well, like all the communist regimes made sex work illegal, so how could they be pro busting? Which like is a fair point. That was like not great that they like did that or whatever, but that doesn't mean like your position's actually any better on that subject.
No, our position is because we're the pro busting camp. We're the pro busting commies. You know who else is pro busting? Little
Great
guy.
name. That is a fantastic name.
Two guys you might have heard of before: a Mr. Friedrich Engels and a Mr. Karl Marx. Pro bussin', all the way pro bussin'. You know who's for bussin' with little kids? Bakunin.
I know you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna fucking say that.
Game over. Even if they're having more sex than me, I don't give a shit because the sex I'm having is not a crime, or as the conservatives would call it, sex. Because they're all sex criminals.
Oh man.
I got this one. I can have this fight any day of the week. Did I tell you about the Bakunin kid I trolled?
Oh, did you?
Their advice is to become a priest.
Somebody started giving a fucking moral lecture, and they cited Bakunin, and I was like, it was about sex. So I was like, oh man, Bakunin's kind of sus. I don't know if that's who I would invoke in this conversation. So he starts rambling about like, yes, Bakunin was an anti-Semite. And he gives his whole fucking speech, and I was like, I was talking about that time he fucked a child. Gone.
That's a big ode. That is a great ode.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if as a Bakuninist, I want to talk about child pornography in this manner. That's all I'm saying.
What? Why don't they just make what they don't like Kropotkin? Is Kropotkin out now?
It's because you know why? Because Kropotkin's kind of boring by comparison. Bakunin's
you gotta throw some Molotovs for them.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit spicy. Maybe get down with
To
a
make it
child.
exciting,
Which it's weird that anarchists have the same age of consent fucking hang-ups as a libertarian. I find that
they can't not.
Well,
That's the thing. Is like
they can't
they're
not.
like the left libertarians.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually makes a lot of sense.
Their brains. They have similar brain poisoning. But like the difference is that like when you ask a libertarian and you're like, so like how do you resolve age of consent? Like not never mind the fact that like they can't like fucking resolve in their brain the main thing, which is like when does legitimate property begin and end.
Right.
That's like their underpinning thing that they can't fucking figure out at all. They have no answer to, and any answer they come up with involves a state which they hate. So
Right.
yeah, but the other thing is you're like, okay, so like, you know, like what apparatus exists to prevent people from having sex with kids? And they're like, well, there shouldn't be one. Like that's what they would tell you.
A council of councils.
We're gonna levy. It's not a tax. It's a fee. It's a user fee.
No, because it is.
We're gonna levy a not tax to pay for not police officers to prevent pedophilia, which is not a crime but a moral, reprehensible act.
The best. So like you know there are other.
Not
so like the best answer that like an anarchist can come up with is like.
You just won't.
They would say something along the lines of like, well, you know, there won't be nuclear families anymore, and like kids will be raised communally, which means that like, you know, the kids won't really have like that many opportunities to be alone, but also simultaneously like because of the fact that kids will be around a lot more people, that will mean that like, you know, if somebody tries to abuse a kid, it'll be a lot more obvious, and if you try to abuse a kid around me, I'll kill you. That's usually what their answer amounts to.
It's so fucked. Like they have no idea.
So many hurdles to get through.
Yeah, the authoritarian now.
And like
for every legitimate point, you get one of those to go with it. That's why anarchism is funnier than communism. That's why. Because for every legitimate critique they have that you should contemplate, we get one of those, and it's wonderful because you get it's almost like going to do your math problems and then realizing you're to the recreational math section and you're a dork like I am, so you're like, ooh, goody, like I got to the treat.
So like one of the reasons that like I would not identify like straight up as a communist is that
the political implications.
No, well, a lot of what I think about, like, just like how we ever like reach a situation that that's tenable or whatever. But most of it is this. It can be summed up in this meme where somebody's like, "Are you going to imprison people after the revolution?" And the anarchist is just this giant wall of text that's incomprehensible.
Yeah.
And the communist is like, yes, and will love to. And like that is similar to like I like that meme. And in this case though, the meme is an anarchist and a libertarian. And the anarchist, you know, you ask them, so is like fucking a child okay? And the anarchist replies with this giant wall of text that's completely incomprehensible. And the libertarian's like, yes, and I love to. So so that's why I'm not any of those things, but I do think it's very funny. At least some of the implications on that. Yeah, no, I mean their view on it is like, God bless them for trying. But like again, I say this to this day, like the reason that like that really turned me off of being an anarchist like at all, and the thing that really drove me away from that was definitely that
I hope it was Bakunin.
When people were no, it wasn't that. I didn't know that shit about Bakunin at that point. And I've never even read Bakunin, but the thing that's fun, I found funniest about that shit was...
Is he even an anarchist? I don't know him. Who is he? I don't know.
No, when that New York Times article went around, I think it was a Times article where like they covered like some trans teenager that had to be a sex worker because of their circumstances. And like they learned all that shit about how to be a good sex worker from other sex workers. And a bunch of anarchists were like, that's mutual aid. And I was like, oh, okay, I can't do this shit anymore. I was like, I can't even
So you didn't learn it. So you decided against it. You decided against it not directly because of Bakunin, only because of the Bakunin tendency.
I know. Well, it is true. It is like you can't fucking resolve these problems. So like nowadays, I know this might disappoint our one listener, but I'm actually a lot closer to Jank in my views. So that's just how that goes. I'm not Jank though. I'm sorry, but I'm not.
Yeah, well.
I'm not Jank for what it's worth. Either.
Hey, that's fine.
We'll get there.
You know, I'll not have the secret police that arrest you.
Yeah, you know what? To be fair, after the revolution, yeah, there would be some sort of carceral mechanism for serial killers. We're not going to be pleased, but you're going to have to do what you have to do. But to be fair, any good Marxist is not like, and then we hit utopia. Any Marxist who says like, once we get communism, we've hit utopia. Well, you didn't read very hard, did you?
That is even part of what. Yeah, that's not.
It's
That's not how that shit works.
No, you expect their like that's if you want me to be dead ass, like that's one of my problems with Lenin when he talks about the withering of the state. Like that's not. What you're gonna have after communism is you're gonna have material conditions. I would okay. Speculation. You're going to have material conditions improve for the great mass of people. You're going to have new contradictions that arise in the new society that are born out of the birth of the old, however that happens, and then you're going to have another revolutionary moment. And any good communist should relish the day 2 days in their life if you live that long, right? One is the day that glorious communism liberates the workers, and day 2 is the next revolution that gets you away from being a communist.
Silence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense on some level. Yeah. I can see that. What you mean, a society beyond that?
Yeah.
You mean what is it? Fully automated luxury gay space communism thing?
No,
essentially.
I can't wait for the gay space communists.
No, that's how I assume communism will go if we're all gay and in space. No, what I mean.
Joke's on you. That's only if we're straight and underwater. We call it ironically.
Oh, I got my ass. I mean, I don't know what to tell you there.
No, we didn't because it's straight and underwater.
Oh. Okay, you didn't specifically rejected my ass then.
That's right.
No, what I mean is like if you follow the logic of the dialectic, right? You follow the logic of the historical. God damn, this is why I hate being sick and trying to do this. Because when we get to a big point like this, I kind of lose my words and my train of thought. So if you believe in the dialectical nature of class struggle, there's always going to be classes that crop up and that are in conflict. A revolutionary class and a conservative, entrenched class. Under capitalism, you believe that those are folding into great two camps and a conflict is inevitable, right? You do believe in some sort of fatalistic notion that the conflict is inevitable. You kind of have to back your own bullshit. Fine. I buy my own bullshit, right? But what I'm saying is then after that, the outcome is allegedly going to be, a workers' state, where workers are the only class. But we know, like, reason should tell you that's not possible. There's going to be new antagonisms that arise because you have a society. We are humans. So, what we expect, the great gambit, if you will, for those of us who are not dogmatic and insane, is that yes, the revolution's going to come. At some point, the revolution is, at the end of it, we have an opportunity to make life better. Life will then go through a process of being made better. As a result of that function, there's going to be new class antagonisms that arise because new classes will form despite our best efforts. That will cause a new need for a new revolution, which will go beyond communism. And it will come in fits and starts, just like capitalism did, just like monarchy did, just like tribalism did. It won't happen all at once in a clean process. It'll happen in fits and starts over time. But the gambit is the material conditions of that society are better than what we have, which were better than what we had, which were better than what we had.
Man, I just want to get to gay space communism.
One day.
That'd be about 1 million years later, if we survive that long.
Well, we'd have to get there first. We'd have to get to communism to have the conflict to turn it gay. Which I don't know how you turn an ideology gay per se, but we'll have to have that conflict. So like that's what I'm talking about. In the grand view of things, like communism isn't the end, it's the next step in human progress. And it's a step and let me be very clear, it's a step we should take because, again, I'm gambling a little bit here, but looking around at what we have, looking around if we look backwards for alternatives, it's clearly the better option.
I don't know. I think that someone out there named Anarchismus might disagree with you on that.
Well,
I think
yeah.
I think that
Big surprise there.
I think that basically they have the worldview that the worst mistake that humans ever made was agriculture.
Going indoors. The first time humans went, you know what though? If Anarchismus has written Persona 3, Nix's big speech would have been the moment man walked inside the cave to protect himself in the rain, he sealed his fate. Entrusting his future to walls, man clings to a dim hope. Like, that would have been the big speech. It was not about the jump to religion for him, it was about the jump from getting outside while it's wet.
And what was the worst human in history Hammurabi to him?
Definitely wanted, like, it would not surprise me if in his worldview, if he knows who Hammurabi is, doubtful, if he knows who Hammurabi is, it's probably like fair to say he sees a through line from Hammurabi directly to Adolf Hitler.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's almost that I write the theory, I do the praxis meme. You know what I mean? Like Hammurabi wrote the theory, Hitler did the praxis because both of them endorsed bedtimes. I'm sorry, I went deep. I went deep for that Persona reference. But not everybody's gonna get that.
No, that one's great. That was great actually. So
yeah, trusting his in future to a roof, man clings to a dim hope.
I've never heard that one. That one's really good.
I made that one up on the spot.
There you go.
That's why you never heard it before. That's a Dan original.
That one's really good.
Thank you.
You know what?
Do you ever play Persona 3?
No, I've only played 5 and Strikers.
Man, first off,
didn't they re-release it?
No, well, they re-released it on PSP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they won't make them downloadable on like the Sony store.
I'll have to find an emulator. I mean, I'll have to purchase that from Amazon or something.
You'll have to do a praxis.
Yes, I'll have to do a praxis.
Yeah, but
21 Hail markets for me.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Let's round the episode off with something completely irrelevant. Persona 3 is one of my favorites. Okay. All right. Big Persona 3 guy. Fucking the plot is basically a Greek tragedy set in Tokyo. And my God. Okay, so after the events of Persona 2, and it's to some degree concurrent with those, the split that causes the timeline to get to Persona 5, right? There's a split in the world. Persona, we'll call it 2.5 or Persona 2 Part 2, however you want to think of that. I like 2.5. So in the Persona 1 and Persona 2.1 timeline, right? Nyarlathotep has destroyed the Earth. He's won the great battle. So Philemon separates time to give humanity a chance. That's the timeline that the Persona you enjoy is in, right? Persona 5. Before Persona 5, we have Persona 4, its adventure in Inaba. Before that, we have Persona 3. So at the same time that Nyarlathotep was up to his shit, this group called the Kirijo Group was working on that cognitive reality research, right? And they found a way to import shadows into reality. Now, they were trying to do it to turn the shadows into weapons of war to compete with American military force, to compete with Chinese military force. Basically, to return Japan to a world power, they were trying to tap into this, right? Well, it fails. I'm sure you're surprised that's my next sentence. It fails. They unleash death. Not the cognitive
I'm surprised.
Reaper. Yeah, they release actual fucking death. So they send this anti-shadow weapon to fight death head on, on this bridge in Tokyo, and it's important because a little boy was there. Unless you're playing the Persona 3 re-release, then it's a little girl. Death retreats into that child. Now, Death is a perfunctory form of Nyx's avatar. Nyx, if you will, like we have an idea of Death as Thanatos, this kind of finality and end. Nyx is this kind of death mother figure. She is the death drive incarnate. She comes to ease people's suffering. And the easiest way to end somebody's suffering is, to kill them, right? So she represents humanity's will to die as a species. And she can be summoned by enough human beings basically saying the world is shitty and pointless. I don't want to be here anymore. I want to die. When that happens, the fall will come and she will arrive. Now, Philemon, having thought this through, has put safeguards in place, which were routinely fucking nuked whenever the Corregio group started fucking around with shadows. So now the door is theoretically open for Nyx's return. It's staved off. The crisis is staved off by implanting death inside this small child, right? Then we move to the main events of the game, where this young boy moves back into Tokyo at such a time when there's this crisis with the shadows that's escalating, because Nyx is getting more powerful on her side of the barrier. And over the course of the game, instead of being it's about 7 seals. Basically, you bust it open and cause Armageddon. But you don't actually want Armageddon. You've spent your entire time trying to put whatever this phenomenon is down, not knowing that it's Nyx, which is revealed at the end stage, right? The last month of the game, because it uses the same month system. So then finally, the protagonist has to make a choice as to whether or not he accepts the death of the species and gets to live in bliss until that one swift death moment, or if he's going to risk failure and success fighting back, which of course Nyx posits as absolute fail. You're just putting off your own demise. There's no point in this. You're just suffering pointlessly, which is how she views existence, right? But you fight back, you win, and the Persona 3 protagonist is by far the most powerful because he's a literal fucking god slayer. He's a literal fucking messiah. Joker is cool. You is a bro, and the fucking Persona 3 protagonist, his name escapes me momentarily. He or she is literal Jesus. And they save the world, right?
Yeah, I didn't know this other stuff about the sort of extended universe that exists with Persona. Yeah. I was just curious, is Shin Megami Tensei's universes intertwined with that, or they just use the same monsters?
They broke off, the universes for that broke off, I think, with Megami Tensei 2. Because Persona is, it's originally called, in English, Revelations Persona. If I remember, this is where not speaking Japanese hurts me a little bit because I can't give you a perfect translation, and I'm giving you a hazy one at midnight, right?
You're right. You're right. I do remember seeing that in the game magazines a long time ago.
Yeah, well, it's I think Shin Megami Tensei is Rebirth of the New Goddess. I think is what that means. Something along those lines, and that's supposed to be like Megami Tensei 1 is the birth of the goddess. The games following are supposed to be the rebirth. So, as far as the line goes, the mainline SMT games are all one set, and then there's all these little spin-offs like Soul Hackers, Devil Summoner, all this other stuff. And Persona is the big split because Persona 1 and 2, in Persona 1 you were still just a demon summoner, a devil summoner. In Persona 2, they switched to personas. They actually took the name. And instead of like conjuring a full demon out of your head, the demon represented part of your psyche. And that's why Persona 3 On has really changed those to job classes more than like you being like a devil summoner who also has powers. But they are tied into a larger kind of meta narrative. Generally, since the Persona games are focused on the psyche, they tend to stay more political. Like they tend to have more political and more topical. SMT deals with a lot of religion.
Yeah, I've never actually played a Shin Megami Tensei game, but I know that they're made by the same company, and I know they use the same monsters.
Yeah.
So I figured they had to be like related somehow, basically.
Oh, they are. They're all part of the wide Megami Tensei family. In Megami Tensei 1, like this high school gets taken over by hell and everybody like the world ends. So the
Mhm.
rebirth of the god, the reason it gets the moniker, I believe, Shin, um, meaning new or rebirth. I can't remember which one it is. It might even be both. You know how Japanese works. Like it's kind of odd to translate into English. Um, but it refers to the fact that there's a do-over with Megami Tensei 2. But yeah, the first one, everybody gets sucked into hell and everybody dies. Game's over. Like no matter what you do, like that's the end of the game. In 2, I think there's a chance to reset that. In Persona 1, hell on earth arises, literal hell. Like mind you, when I say hell, I'm not referring to like the shit sucks. I mean hell, like Christian
Mhm.
hell. Um, Christian hell arises on Earth, and these Japanese teenagers learn how to control their personas, and they fucking capture demons and fight. And then in Persona 2, a rival non-Christian god, Nyarlathotep, goes to war with Philemon, a Greek figure, and they go to war over humanity's soul. And again, Nyarlathotep wins. It splits off further into this other alternate timeline. But like the mainline SMT games, generally you're trying to avert the actual Book of Revelations events, but God himself, Yahweh, Yahweh Vohe, they prefer the Yahweh Vohe pronunciation, enunciation and pronunciation. Yahweh Vohe is specifically trying to end the world, and there's always a path to making everything go back to normal, which is the like ostensibly what is the canon ending, so they can have the next game. But
Right.
but there's always an ending where you side with Yahweh Vohe, heaven takes over, and Earth becomes like a fascist nightmare, an extension, or just simply annihilated in favor of a fascist nightmarish heaven. Or you side with Lucifer, end the Earth, slaughter everybody, and then go to war with Yahweh Vohe for eternity as one of Lucifer's like underlings. Those are more specific to SMT3, but those are always like the general gist of it. You side with Lucifer, you side with Yahweh Vohe, or you side with humanity.
Huh.
And Nocturne is
And
the best of all of them.
and with that, this has been the Sons of Trier podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't.
Good luck killing God, everyone.
Yep.
I
Get his
I
ass.
am Michael Jordan Peterson, and we have Dan Cohen,
Thanks.
and we got two other losers.
Yo.
Yeah.
Got their asses.